when a lion bowed to young Muhammad, a miracle that left everyone speechless.
My dear brothers and sisters, when we turn the pages of history, we find some miraculous events that surpass human imagination.
In today's video, we will take you back about 1,500 years to the dusty lands of Mecca, a time when people's lives were miserable due to a lack of water, animals were dying, and the arrogant tribal leaders were staring at the sky hoping for a single drop of rain. But they did not know that the decision of the heavens did not lie in their blood oaths, but was hidden in the gesture of an innocent child. Who was that child? And what happened that day in the courtyard of the Kaaba? Let us witness that thrilling event of history. The time was the Ayyam al-Jahiliyyah, or the Age of Ignorance. It seemed as if fire was raining from the sky of Mecca. The soil of Mecca, which used to be blessed by the Zamzam water, was suddenly struck by a terrible famine. Day after day, month after month, there was not a speck of cloud in the sky. The sun seemed to have come very close to the earth, and its intense heat was cracking the stones of Mecca. Fields and farms had turned copper-colored from dryness. The date palm gardens of Mecca, which were once lively, now stood as dry skeletal trees. The water level dropped so low that the wells and springs lost their last drops. People would travel far to collect a little water, but they would return with empty pitchers and a heart full of despair. The situation became so terrifying that mothers could not put water in their children's mouths. Livestock was dying in agony from thirst. There was only the sound of crying in every house in Mecca. The Quraysh leaders, who considered themselves the masters of Mecca, were also helpless today. Their wealth and power, nothing could bring down a single drop of water from the sky. Finally, desperate, the great leaders of the Quraysh gathered at Darun Nadada, their council house. Despair was clear on their faces. One elderly leader among them stood up and said with a trembling voice, "O people, do you not see? Our existence is in danger today. If we do not do something now, our lineage will be wiped out. Our homes will turn into graveyards, and our animals will die." Everyone said in unison, "Then what is the solution? We tried our best, but there was no result." Then, according to an old custom of the Age of Ignorance, they made a strange and difficult decision. A leader proposed, "Come, let us take a difficult oath today. Bring a large pot of animal blood. We will dip our hands in that blood and swear we will not leave the walls of the car until it rains. Either it will rain or we will die of thirst." In the courtyard of the car, putting their lives at stake, they made a bet with death. A huge pot of fresh blood was brought. The great leaders of Mecca, whose power made the whole Arab world tremble, lined up to dip their hands in that pot of blood. One by one they raised their blood-stained hands and shouted, "O Lord of the Kaaba, our children are dying, our animals are perishing. Today, by this blood oath, we will not leave the cover of the Kaaba until you give us water. If rain does not come, our corpses will leave this place." That night the air in Mecca was heavy, the atmosphere was tense. Those 32 leaders who had sworn the oath by dipping their hands in blood headed towards the car, breaking the silence of midnight. Each of them had stubbornness in their minds and the fear of death in their eyes. Among this group was one man who was slightly different from the others. He was one of the most respected leaders of the Quraysh. His name was Abu Talib. Although there was nobility on his face, there was deep anxiety inside. As Abu Talib was getting ready to leave the house, an unimaginable event occurred. From a corner of the dark room, a charming child came forward. He was only 9 years old, but there was such a glow on his face that it surpassed even the full moon. He was none other than the Prophet of the world, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Little Muhammad stood in the path of his uncle Abu Talib. He asked in a very soft and sweet voice, "Uncle, where are you going so late at night? You seem very worried." Abu Talib stopped. Looking at his nephew's charming face, his heart wrenched. He sighed and said, "O my beloved nephew, do you not see the condition of Mecca? The sky is angry with us. Everyone's life is miserable due to the lack of water. So we leaders have sworn an oath that today we will stand holding the wall of the car until it rains. Either we will get water or we will die there." Hearing his uncle's words, it touched the young mind of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He looked into his uncle's eyes and requested, "Uncle, take me with you too. I also want to stand beside you at the Kaiser." Abu Talib was startled. He said, "No, son. All the angry and arrogant leaders of Mecca will be there. What will they say seeing you? Besides, you are small. Staying up so late is not right for you." But little Muhammad was persistent. He asked with such pleading that it was impossible for Abu Talib to say no. He loved his nephew more than his own life. Finally, he said, "Okay, come with me, but always stay by my side." Thus, at a great juncture of history, holding Abu Talib's hand, the little Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam headed towards the Kaaba courtyard. On one side were the 32 powerful leaders of Mecca, whose weapons were arrogance and a blood oath, and on the other side was an innocent child whose weapons were only fear of Allah and simplicity. When Abu Talib reached the courtyard of the Kaaba with his nephew, it was a heartbreaking scene. All the people of Mecca, men, women, elderly, children, had gathered around the Kaaba. There was hope in everyone's eyes. Perhaps the sky would melt at this difficult oath of the leaders. Those 32 leaders stood in a line against the wall of the car. The smell of blood was still coming from their bodies, but seeing a child with Abu Talib, murmurs started among the leaders, their eyebrows furrowed. An angry leader shouted, "O Abu Talib, what have you done? Why have you brought a nursing child to this serious gathering of ours? Is this a game? We have come to decide life and death, and you have brought a child." Abu Talib felt embarrassed. He did not want to break the social custom. He whispered to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Son, you go sit a bit behind. These are important people. They are getting angry." Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not argue with his natural humility. He lowered his head, went behind the crowd, and sat quietly. Then began the wailing of those leaders. They held the cover of the car and shouted, "O Lord, give us water, save us." Their crying made the sky and air heavy. Hours passed. Night turned into dawn, but not a single piece of cloud was seen in the corner of the sky. The sun rose and its heat began to increase. In the scorching heat of noon, the leaders were soaked in sweat. Some were about to faint from the heat, but their stubbornness remained. They would not move. At this extreme moment, when everyone's hope was almost gone, Abu Talib felt someone pulling his sheet from behind. Annoyed, he looked back and saw little Muhammad standing there. His fair face had turned red in the sun. Abu Talib said in a slightly scolding tone, "Muhammad, you came to the front again. Go sit in the shade." But this time, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not step back. He said firmly but very politely, "Uncle, let me go to the front a little. I will pray. You will see. My Allah will not turn you away." Abu Talib was surprised. He said, "We 32 leaders cried all night and floated our chests with tears, yet the sky did not melt. And you, a 9-year-old child, will pray and it will rain. Don't be crazy. Go." The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam went quietly to the back again. But a while later, when people were about to faint from the heat of the sun, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came again. This time, wiping the sweat off Abu Talib's face, he said, "Uncle, I cannot bear your suffering. Give me one chance." Abu Talib could not refuse this time. His nephew's confidence weakened him. He said, "Okay, come." The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came forward. He looked at the leaders and said, "You all stand behind me. I will stand in front and pray." Hearing this, the arrogant leaders got angry. They said, "What? We will stand behind this little boy. Do we have no dignity?" But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in a grave voice, "If you do not move back, it will not rain today, and if it doesn't rain, you will all be destroyed." Hearing that childish yet majestic voice, the great leaders of Mecca became mesmerized. They felt that this child was no ordinary person. There was such power in his words that it was impossible to ignore. The arrogant leaders, who were steadfast in their stubbornness just a moment ago, now moved back slowly, like obedient boys. For the first time in the history of Mecca, elderly leaders stood in rows behind a 9-year-old boy. The space in front became empty. Standing there alone was the best of creation, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Pin-drop silence was everywhere. Thousands of people held their breath and watched, waiting to see what would happen. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had not yet raised his hands to the sky. The leaders whispered from behind, "O Muhammad, we have moved back. Now pray, scream and call Allah like we did." Then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied in a calm voice, "If I also do what you did, then what remains the difference between you and me?" People asked in surprise, "Then what will you do?" The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam smiled and said, "You just watch." Then he lifted his charming face towards the sky. He did not scream, he did not wail loudly. He just kept his large eyes fixed on the sky and spoke to his Lord in his heart. In that gaze was a plea, there was love. Just a few moments later, suddenly the color of the sky, burnt by the scorching sun, began to change. A piece of black cloud was seen on the horizon of Mecca. The leaders stared in amazement. In the blink of an eye, that small cloud took a huge shape and covered the entire sky. The sun that was giving heat like fire just a moment ago got lost behind the clouds. A cool breeze began to blow. And then that desired moment arrived. The sky broke open and rain poured down. Drops of mercy water began to soak the hot sands of Mecca. The dried-up trees seemed to regain life. The people of Mecca, overwhelmed with joy, began to get wet in the rain. They shouted happily, "Ya Muhammad, Ya Muhammad! By the blessing of your prayer, we have regained life today." The leaders bowed their heads in shame. They realized this rain did not come from their blood oath, but through the tears of this orphan child. However, dear viewers, this friendship of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam with clouds and rain is nothing new. Even before this, in his childhood, many such miraculous events occurred which amazed people. Let us go back a little further into the past. From that scene when he was growing up in the house of his foster mother, Lima, those days with the Banu Sud tribe. He was then only 3 or 4 years old. One day he came to his foster mother, Lima, and pleaded, "Mother, where do my foster brothers go every morning?" Lima said affectionately, "Son, they go towards the jungle and hills to graze goats." Then little Prophet Salahi was Salam said, "Mother, I want to go with them too. I also want to see what the outside world is like." Halima was terrified. She knew how harsh the desert of Mecca was. She said, "No, son, you are still very small. You will not be able to bear the harsh sun outside. Besides, the desert path is very difficult." But from the side, the Prophet's foster sister Seerah spoke up. "Mother, you do not know. When Brother Muhammad is with us, a strange thing happens. We have seen that a piece of cloud from the sky always floats over his head like a shadow. The sun never touches his body. Wherever he goes, the cloud goes with him." Hearing this from her daughter, Lima's mind was filled with belief and wonder. She realized that this child was under the special protection of Allah. Still, being a mother, she did not want to let her peace of heart out of her sight. But when the child Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam kept insisting with great affection and innocence, Lima finally gave permission. The next morning, the little prince went out to graze goats with his brothers. That scene was something to behold. When he walked with a stick in his small hand, it seemed as if the whole jungle was paying him respect. At other times, the goats would scatter here and there. But when the Prophet ﷺ was with them, the goats would graze calmly around him. Where he stepped, the thorns there would seem to move away. The brothers watched in amazement that in the presence of the Prophet ﷺ, they felt no hardship. There was neither the heat of the sun nor the fear of losing their way. Some time passed like this. Lima saw that her children were now very happy, and the goats also returned home with full stomachs. But the happy times did not last long. One day, Lima could not suppress the fear in her mind any longer. She called the Prophet ﷺ, hugged him and said, "Son Muhammad, from today you will not go to graze goats anymore. I have heard that the movement of wild animals has increased on the other side of the jungle. I do not want even a scratch on your body. You stay at home." The Prophet ﷺ did not have the heart to disobey his foster mother. He accepted it quietly and stayed at home. One day passed, 2 days passed. The Prophet ﷺ did not go to the field anymore, but on the 3rd day at noon, suddenly there was chaos in the house. Lima's own son ran into the house. His whole body was trembling, his face was pale with fear, and tears were streaming down his eyes. Lima ran and held her son. "What happened? Why are you crying?" The boy gasped and said, "Mother, a disaster has happened. While we were grazing the goats, suddenly a huge roar came from inside the jungle. Before we could understand anything, a terrifying lion attacked our herd. We ran away in fear, but the lion took our healthiest goat in its mouth towards the deep jungle." Hearing this, the sky seemed to fall on Lima's head. On one hand, the pain of losing the goat, and on top of that, an unknown fear began to work in her mind. She thought, "Oh Allah, if Muhammad had been with them today, maybe this wouldn't have happened." She remembered Shima's words, "Danger does not come when Muhammad is present." Tears began to drip from Lima's eyes. On one hand, she was thanking Allah that she did not let the Prophet ﷺ go today so he was safe, and on the other hand, she was overwhelmed with grief over losing the goat. When Lima was sitting in the corner of the room crying, the little Prophet ﷺ could not bear his mother's crying. He slowly approached Lima. He wiped his mother's tears with his small, soft hands and asked in a very compassionate voice, "Mother, why are you crying? What happened to you?" Lima said in a tearful voice, "Son Muhammad, the jungle lion took our goat. We are poor people. How will I bear this loss?" Hearing this, a mysterious line of a smile appeared on the face of the little Prophet ﷺ. He said something that made Lima's heart tremble. He said, "Mother, do not cry at all. So what if the lion took our goat? I am going right now. I will bring back our goat from that lion." Halima Sa'diya was startled. She thought, "What is this innocent child saying? Where great warriors do not dare to stand in front of a lion, this nursing child says he will command the lion." Lima hugged the boy in panic and said, "No, son Muhammad, do not say such things. The lion is a very terrifying animal. Once it catches someone, it does not give them back. You do not know how cruel the law of the forest is. I will not let you go to that death trap at all. Let the goat go, but I cannot bear the fear of losing you." But then the little Muhammad ﷺ looked into his mother's eyes and spoke with such firmness that it was impossible for an ordinary child to say. He said, "Mother, do not be afraid. The lions of the jungle may be ferocious to others, but they are bound to bow their heads before Muhammad. Come with me today, you will see a new scene." There was such divine power in the voice of the child Prophet ﷺ that Halima Sa'diya seemed hypnotized. All the fear in her mind turned into belief in a moment. She held the hand of the little Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam with trembling hands and stepped towards the deep jungle, crossing the village path. When they crossed the village border and reached the edge of the deep forest, it was silent everywhere. There was no sound except the chirping of crickets. Halima was looking around in fear, but there was no fear in the eyes of the little Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rather, there was an infinite peace. He stood in front of the jungle and called out in his sweet but grave voice. He shouted, "O lions of the jungle, where are you? Listen to me. My mother Halima is very hurt today. You have taken her goat. I command you, return that goat right now." This command of the child Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam reached every leaf of the trees in the jungle with the speed of the wind. It seemed that this voice was not of an ordinary human, but clear's throat, a command sent down from the heavens. Just after saying that, suddenly the sound of dry leaves crunching was heard from inside the jungle. The earth's chest trembled. Halima held the Prophet's hand tightly in fear, but immediately the scene she saw was something she was not at all prepared for. Several huge lions came out, breaking through the bushes. Their eyes were glowing, but there was no ferocity in their posture. The surprising thing was that Halima's lost goat was standing unharmed in the middle of those lions. The lions came forward slowly. Halima thought they were about to attack. But no, those kings of the forest came and bowed their heads like cats at the feet of the little Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They began to wag their tails in such a way as if they had found their long-known master. The lions pushed the goat towards the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then they began to look at the Prophet with such affectionate eyes as if they wanted to speak. Then a miraculous event happened. By the power of Allah, the lion's tongue opened. The leader of the group, the lion, spoke in clear language. The lion said humbly, "Ya Rasul Allah, forgive our disrespect. We knew this goat belonged to your house. We took it intentionally." The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked, "Why did you hurt my mother's heart knowingly? Why did you steal the goat?" The lion then replied with tearful eyes, "Ya Habiballah, believe us, eating the goat was not our intention. We had been waiting for you in the jungle for a long time. We knew you would come by this path one day, but you were not coming. So we thought if we take something from your house, then on that pretext you will surely come to our den. We made this plan just to see you once, to get a glimpse of you. Without you, this jungle seems very lonely to us." Hearing such words of love and affection from the lion's mouth, Hazrat Halima Sa'diya was speechless. Tears began to stream down her eyes. She realized that the one whose hand she was holding was no ordinary child. He is that entity for whom the entire universe was created. Even the animals of the forest know him and love him. The lion said again, "Master, if we have made any mistake, punish us, but do not remove your gaze of mercy from us." Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam then smiled. His smile seemed to illuminate the entire jungle. He said, "Go, I forgive you. You are free. But remember, Allah does not like oppression. Beware, never attack any weak animal or any human unjustly again." The lions roared in joy as if they accepted the Prophet's command. Then they lowered their heads and disappeared into the deep jungle again. Halima Sa'diya got her goat back. But what she got bigger than that was an unshakable belief. She returned home with a chest full of pride. She knew that her foster child would one day change the history of the whole world. Dear viewers, these were some miraculous events from the childhood of our beloved Prophet, Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Just as the clouds obeyed his signal on that rainless day in Mecca, the ferocious...
From this, it is understood that he was a mercy or kindness to creation. Dead soil comes to life at his touch, and ferocity turns into love at his signal. Today's story teaches us that love for the Prophet is not limited only to humans, but every living being knows and loves him. Before ending the video, a question for you. Which event of the Prophet's life touched your heart the most? Do let us know by commenting. And to get such thrilling and educational Islamic stories regularly, subscribe to our channel and turn on the bell icon. See you in the next video with a new story.
Until then, everyone stay well, stay healthy, and try to build your life according to the ideals of the Prophet.